Hey guys, Project is one and only, my name is AJ, and as you can tell from the title of this video, it didn't really go to plan. I thought it was such a funny, in a way of losing a world to a random corruption that I sort of wanted to share it. So I also had 4 hours of building the castle, or what I got built of the castle, and I didn't want to, bin that footage off. So I think I've made something quite nice with this. It's so cool how it's corrupted, though. I don't know what's happened. Maybe you guys can help me out and let me know in the comment section. The only thing I think I've done differently this time as compared to my 3,000 other videos of Minecraft is I was using 2 instances of Minecraft at the same time on different usernames, both in the same world at the same time. So I had me building, and then I had the other character, like in a LAN world, with me, just flying above in creative mode, watching what I was doing to create the time lapse. I did save and exit, and I disconnected, and I done everything in the order that made sense to me, but obviously it didn't like the way I done that, so I think I need to change up how I close down those worlds. So I'm gonna shut up for a second and let you guys enjoy, hopefully. Alright, so now I got the grass cleared out the way, I went ahead and laid out a very sort of rough blueprint of where I wanted the towers to be, how big the castle was going to be, and I thought the perfect location for this would be on top of this hill there. Just had to get rid of a little bit of landmass. Now at this point I didn't know what the castle was going to look like. I'm one of these kind of people that don't really like to plan. I just like to jump straight into it and just have a go and change it if I don't like certain parts of it. I didn't even know really a color palette that I was going to use. I knew I wanted it to be quite neutral colors. We're in like a white biome, so I didn't really want anything to stand out. I wanted the blocks to look somewhat like they could come from the area. I know I've used acacia logs for the sort of foundation part, but they're a sort of silvery grey block as opposed to like the brown of the wood. I've got some spruce in parts in fences and trapdoors, but I think that's quite fitting with spruce trees covering the background right now. In fact, I think the blocks go quite well with the environment. So I'm just detailing up one tower, and once I've got the idea of how I want it to look, I can then build the other ones really quickly. The other 3 of these large pillars go up very fast. I've got 3 smaller towers, which are a little bit different. They follow the same idea. The whole castle ends up following the same sort of block structure, and even though the towers are very different sizes, I managed to sort of keep all of the lines and the designs the same throughout. So once the towers were done, I decided to, for some reason, go with the terraforming. I was pretty confident about the walls and everything else. Now I had the external sort of dimensions, I could work on making it blend into the area around. Now I I always thought I was the world's worst terraformer, but I've actually seen worse than what I done here. I invented, I think, a new strategy of, I went around with some grass blocks on the top, like 2 or 3 or 4 blocks in sections, and just sort of drew an outline, if you like, around the castle. And then underneath that with stone, I drew some sort of legs down of approximately where I wanted the wall to be. And then I completely randomly, just spammed my mouse button as fast as I could. And it built up a sort of completely random wall. And it turned out quite nice. Terraforming is difficult in Minecraft, and steep cliffs, steep edges are even harder. I wanted this castle to be on a mountain, or at least top of a hill. I didn't want it to be on a slope, a gradual incline up to it. I wanted it to be propped up on something. And then I've always thought that cliff edges are really tough to do, but this strategy worked. Once I got all the stone down, I then went over the top of every single stone block with another piece of grass. And I think all in all, it's pretty good. It's not quite vanilla. It's not quite how that generates. That generates a lot more dirt and grass before you get to stone. But I thought the way that I've done it here is quite nice. I actually think it looks okay, especially when I let it snow for a while to cover up all the grass back to white again. And once it done that, it blended in really well. Very happy with the outcome, just working on the front there as well. So just off to the right of the screen is an ice spike biome, and I wanted the castle itself to sort of imitate how they look, which is why I went for so many towers. If you didn't think 7 towers was enough, I'm adding an 8th here right now. And I wanted it to be taller. I wanted to have that sort of almost like a Disney castle look to it, with the biggest tower in the middle. So I just copied the large towers up to the same height as them, and then just added 2 more segments on top just to give it a little bit more of a push. The cone on the top is exactly the same. I know it was just out of shot there, but it's the same as the other one, so it blends in still. I haven't decorated it yet. I don't decorate it until later on because I didn't know where exactly the walls to the actual castle part of it were going to be yet, so I thought, I'll just leave them. Played about a little bit with the roof here, trying to come up with a design that sort of pokes out a little bit as it goes higher. It's a very sort of tall wedge on top. It goes up every 2 blocks as opposed to every 1. I think it turned out okay. I just got to sort of detail it up now. I use the same details throughout. There's a lot of sort of uniform I have to the build, so there's a lot of spruce buttons, but if you notice, the spruce buttons are only located on andesite blocks when they pass against acacia logs. So at that join point, I have a button there to sort of look like some sort of bolt or some sort of rivet, keeping it together there. So you will only ever see them on the andesite blocks. You won't ever see them on any other block in the build. I just copied the back, what I had on the front to the back, exactly the same, without the door obviously on it. So I sort of made up a middle bottom part there. I'm trying to blend in a lot of blocks as well, as opposed to having walls, a solid diorite, for example, like I'm making out of here. I'm also mixing in a little bit of white concrete, which can be a little bit of a pain because they have gravity like sand. So if you place them and there's nothing underneath them, they just fall. And I think you see during this video quite a few sort of concrete blocks fall there. But I think it helps a lot. I do it the same in the towers here in the roof. You can see the blue ice mixed in with the packed ice. Obviously we're not using normal ice because when I come to light it up, or if I eventually got to the point of lighting it up, if I ended up using ice, it would have melted and all turned to water, and well, there goes the castle. It just melted away. So I had to use blocks that couldn't melt, which left me with the 2 ice blocks that I wanted on the top. So that was all of the walls technically done for the castle here. I've still got to decorate up this main tower, but I do end up doing that. But I was moving on to what I would have inside of the castle walls here. So I went with a stable area here with some wheat storage and then some pens to keep them in, and I even decorate up the ground a little bit. And a lot of detail was going to end up going into this. I wanted the little blacksmith where the camera is now on the opposite side. Maybe a little sort of area for the knights to sleep in, a knight's quarters. But then this happened. This is what I came back to after my lunch break. I left the world and I rejoined back afterwards, and I thought the world hadn't loaded in properly. So I sort of sat there for a minute and waited for it to all load in and for the chunks that I can't see to pop back and calm me down a little bit, but no, it didn't, and I started moving, and then I realized, hang on, these are chunks that have been randomly taken and swapped with another one. I have no clue what's going on. I've got bits of ocean in the middle. It's only done it in this area though. It hasn't done it in the surrounding area. It's not like the whole world has been corrupted. It's not even the loaded chunks, I don't think. It's just whatever is within a certain range of me. The ice spikes over there are all fine and everything, and the woods over there are fine. But it was quite interesting. It put an abrupt end to my plans. I wanted to have trees all on the mountain. I wanted to have like ice spikes coming out of like an entrance stairway that led all the way down. But it was not to be, and I'm not rebuilding it again. It took too long. I'll jump onto another project and we'll go from there. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe, and we shall see you in the next video.